Hi guys, Pastor Mark here. Hope you're well tonight as we continue our study of Ephesians. Thanks for all the feedback and everyone who's been tuning in to it so far. Hope you've been getting a lot out of it. I know you have been. I certainly have been. As we continue now and we go to the much awaited chapter 4, but thank goodness, and this has been a buzzword I think we've been saying for the last week or so, or for a while, is context. You know, thank goodness that as we get into chapter 4, we've got such context and foundation. I love John MacArthur's first line on his commentary of chapter 4. It says his very first line, he says, the essence of the gospel is not what men should do for God, but what God has done for man, end quote. And today as we start chapter 4, I'm going to read nothing but the first verse. And actually the first verse of chapter 4, to be honest, it could... I could spend 50 minutes in that alone. I could spend a couple of weeks in that alone, never mind 10 minutes in one verse, because it's truly all the letter stands on. And it's the lens, I believe, it's the lens and the starting point. As we enter into the second part of the letter, the first part in the introduction that we done for the first 3 chapters, we explained the whole purpose of the letter, the context, the environment, the hope, the subject, the goal, the surroundings that was going on. Ephesus, when Paul was writing there from prison. And here as we start chapter 4, the anchor, the context, the hope, the goal is in all the first 3 chapters. So the start of the book, we're sharing the context of the whole environment and everything to get context. But the context of everything from chapter 4 to 6 and the meaning and the pointer and where it should always, the arrow should always lead to, is going back to the anchor of what's said in the first 3 chapters, and that's the context and the measure line. It's where we line all things up to that Paul is about to say here as we enter chapter 4 over the next few weeks. Okay, Ephesians 4:1, I'll just read one verse. I therefore, Paul, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called. And as we can read and hear clearly here again, the tone has changed. The tone of the letter has changed. And the letter has went from doctrine and what has been done for us to now what we should do and how we should live in light of what's been done and line it up to that calling, lend that gift that we've been given up to our calling and how we should walk in that gift. And Paul again starts by letting us know that, and letting the church in Ephesus know that of his humble position. Paul forever, I Paul, the least of all the apostles, a humble prisoner of Christ. He was such a humble leader, and he's saying, I live, he's also saying himself, I live from the first 3 chapters. It's my starting point. It's also, as I bring guidance, I want you all to know that I'm one of you. And I love this about Paul. He's not trying to be above or anything. He's but a prisoner and a servant to Christ. And I think the modern church today, there is way too much space, I believe, between the leaders in the congregation. I know people that's been to church and they've not spoke to the pastor or the leader for months or years, and it's not about just knowing the pastor, it's about being a family and being united. And Paul is so part of this church, even though he's in prison. He's wrapping himself saying, I'm no any different from yours. I have to adhere to the same things in order to get the right results. And here he's no more saved or no more immune to being sidetracked or lost or challenged. He's saying that because he has to adhere to these principles. Therefore, he's just sharing his humble blessing of salvation that he never forgets it. He's in prison here, as we know, as he's writing this. And he's writing this from a belief that he's standing on. And he ain't saying anything. He's not saying anything that he's not living. And Paul continues the first verse. Therefore, I, a prisoner of the Lord, writing from prison. He's in jail. He's in prison for the work, what he's done in Christ. He says, I beseech you to walk in the manner worthy of the calling which you have been called. Beseech, it means implore. It says the Greek translation is parakelo, or parakelo. It means to call to one side, to have a strong word to beg. It also means to encourage, to instruct and teach. Someone was asking the other day, so why are you learning Greek? And the reason is so that I can understand the word. It's not to be smart in any way. It's just to help the ministry and help any understanding in the word, because often when you read it in the Greek translation, it gives more depth and weight to what that single word may mean. And it means to encourage, to instruct, to teach. It's a strong word. It means to beg. It's mentioned 43 times. The word beseech or implore is mentioned 43 times in the New Testament. Paul himself says it 17 times, to walk worthy of the calling which you were called. And these are very challenging words that we have to ask ourselves, do we walk in our daily life? That's what it means to walk, meaning our daily life, our day-to-day walk. Is it saying and does our life say that we walk every day? Remembering the first 3 chapters, is that our anchor? Is that at the centre of all we do? Do we walk daily worthy? Are we worthy of that walk? Can we honestly say that? What worthy means? Access meaning balance. It means balance meaning, do we have a balanced life? Is there a balance? No, that we're not all our balance, all our foundations, we don't go off in one, all our emotions, all our thinking, are they balanced? Are they balanced? Are they in an axis? Are they worthy? Is our behaviours and our actions, our mannerisms, everything we do, how we talk, how we think, what we do, what we say, how we act, how we respond, is it in balance? Is it worthy? Is it in the axis of what God has done for us and through us and how He's rescued us? And that's a challenge. The balance in our lives, brothers and sisters, comes from the firm grip we have in our calling. That's where our balance comes from. It comes from a firm grip and knowing who we are in Christ. And if you lose that, you go off in one, you're overreacting, you're obsessing about something else, you're getting caught up in things, you're having death by duty, you're overreacting, you're restless, you're irritable, you're discontent, you're angry, you're anxious, you've went off, and you've lost your first love. Maybe only temporarily, hopefully. For the church in Ephesians time and on, they lost it not just temporarily, they end up losing it forever. It doesn't even exist in that church. And that's what happens. We've went off. We're no longer walking worthy our calling, our vocation. We're forgetting who we serve, and we're forgetting whom set us free. And can we all say, and I'm sure we can all say at times, you know what, Pastor Mark, just as you say that there are many, many times when I fall off that, when I don't have that balance. If you looked at my life, and if you looked at my reactions, and you looked at how I was walking in my daily walk, you would not know that what I'd been set free from. You would not believe the gift that I'd been given in Christ by looking at my behaviour and my actions and my responses. Yet Paul is imploring us, beseeching us to do so. And what a wonderful gift and calling we have, people there. Ask yourself and continually ask yourself, not just ask yourself, continually ask yourself. And as we go through 46, that's the question when Paul's asking us to renew our mind and take thoughts captive. He's saying, you know, is your behaviour here lining up with your calling? Is it lining up with the gift that you've been given? Is it lining up with the amazing grace in which God has bestowed upon you? And we have to, when we take our emotions and our mind takes over, we have to beseech ourselves and look to the word and say, we have to challenge ourselves and say, are these actions fitting for my calling? Are they fitting for what God has done for me and brought me out of? And through the next few chapters, as I say, every challenge and everything that Paul said will lead us back to asking ourselves, are we walking worthy of that calling? And it's a challenge this evening, maybe for you thinking, is my behaviours walking in line with this wonderful gift and blessing I've been given? And if not, we have to then look back to that and get back in line with that, so that we become representatives of this great and wonderful gospel. Okay guys, see you again tomorrow. Have a great night. God bless you.